Pape has just released Arc 7 Chapter 100, and this video will be a summary of the chapter. I highly recommend you check out my Arc 7 Chapter 99 summary. Anyways, let's begin. And by the way, for those wondering, this chapter's been out for like 18 hours, but I was busy at work, so I couldn't make the video. The startling situation put Emilia into a daze. Emilia states she was able to beat Volcanica since she passed the trial, rather than physically overpowering Volcanica. She won the trial by touching the monolith at the top of the Pleiades watchtower. Emilia didn't know if this was sufficient, however Volcanica gave her a claw as proof. Either way, the battle against Volcanica was a defensive one, as Emilia never set out to defeat it. Emilia jumps at Mesioria, and Mesioria aims an attack at Emilia. Emilia creates ice soldiers. The ice soldiers provide Emilia with footholds as she jumps up into the sky. The resulting soldiers are then shattered into pieces by the claws of Mesioria. Emilia reached Mesioria's face, and with spike-tipped ice shoes proceeds to kick the dragon in the head. However, it doesn't work. If anything, Mesioria seems annoyed as it lashes out and Emilia spins midair to avoid the attack before landing on the ground. Mesioria repeats his line and destroys more ice soldiers. Emilia realizes that Mesioria views Emilia as an enemy, hence why Mesioria continues to attack her. Emilia calls out to Madelyn, but Madelyn says to not talk to the dragon lightly. Madelyn swings her arm at Emilia, but Emilia dodges. Madelyn keeps muttering the word human as steam billows from her body, covering her in a cloud-lad appearance of steam, similar to Mesioria. Madelyn heats up, melting the snow around her. Emilia creates more ice and directs the coldness of the battlefield onto Madelyn's tiny body, which is currently charging towards Emilia. Madelyn is then shocked and she is frozen solid. Emilia looks at Mesioria. Mesioria's appearance is what made Emilia stop her fight with Madelyn. However, Mesioria was just floating in the sky, not really doing anything about Madelyn's predicament. From Emilia's perspective, it was like having multiple one-on-one fights. When Madelyn attacks, Mesioria is just there flying, and when Mesioria attacks, Madelyn will rest. They did not really cooperate. Madelyn tries to talk, but Emilia apologizes and says that Madelyn won't listen to her, so she's going to have to ask Madelyn to be quiet now. Madelyn croaks, as again her body cools and she's put onto ice. With her last attempt, Madelyn reached out for Emilia, but she had no energy left as she stopped. Emilia is not proud about victory or defeat. There's still more to do. In truth, Emilia didn't have a lot of strength left. It took a lot of energy to keep Madelyn on ice. With that, Emilia looks at Mesioria and says that if you want to continue, I have an idea. She stands tall. It's all a bluff, something she learned from Subaru. She hoped it would make Mesioria retreat, but Mesioria just repeats his line. However, Mesioria's voice begins to crack. In the voice of my beloved child, to the voice, follow. Mesioria stumbles over himself when speaking. Mesioria then swings his head from side to side, and Emilia asks if Mesioria has a headache. However, Mesioria froze and looked down at Emilia. For the first time, Emilia realized she was seen by Mesioria. Mesioria states, I told you, human, the dragon has no words to speak with you. Until the cloud dragon exhales and the world is dyed white and the certainty of will poured down on Emilia mercilessly. The scene changes. The presence of a new battalion to the west spread amongst the battlefield. Initially, the plan was to let the third apex fall. The magical cannon would have wiped out Dicker Ottoman, the Shadrakians and the rebels, but that was all a part of the calculation. However, something happened. Seeing this, Abel recalculated the battlefield. Dicker Ottoman notes that the flying dragons belong to Selena Dracoi. Dicker is in the midst of battle against the stone dolls of Mogro as he notices the flying dragons of Selena fighting against the flying dragons of Madelyn. Even though Madelyn has more dragons on her side, the flying dragons with riders have greater mobility and dexterity. Madelyn's flying dragons are wild and unruly. Dicker Ottoman notes the difference between the dragons. Realizing that Abel has played his card to gain back air superiority. Dicker wonders if Beatrice is okay. Dicker braced for death when the magic cannon went off, but Dicker is aware that Beatrice appeared and did something. She was only the size of a pebble being so high up, but Dicker Ottoman knew it was her. Once you see a woman, you can't go wrong. That is Dicker Ottoman's ability. Dicker hopes that Beatrice is okay. Dicker, who should be dead, all he can do is pray, and he wishes for all of his remaining happiness to ensure that Beatrice will be fine. Nearby, Mizelda notes that they were told to stay back, and they had a clear view of the battlefield. We see that Dicker Ottoman told Mizelda and Tarita and the Shadrakians to stay back. Tarita, as the chief, accepted Dicker Ottoman's command, assuming that Dicker had a good reason for it. Mizelda was angry about being left behind, but after seeing the magic cannon, they understood the situation and wondered if it had to do with Dicker Ottoman being a womanizer. As the Shadrakians line up and begin to get into battle, they turn and are approached. A girl with pink-coloured hair seems familiar. The girl with pink hair asks why she's getting looked at like that, and the Shadrakians state that she looks identical to another girl that they know. The girl, Ram, asks if they got along with the girl with an identical face, and Mizelda says yes. Speaking for the Shadrakians, Tarita said nothing because she agreed with Mizelda. The Shadrak remember that Subaru said that Rem had a twin sister. With that, Ram said then these women and her will get along fine. The Shadrak and Ram move forward as they make their way to the battlefield, with it being stated that Ram is surely a warrior, just like Rem, stated by one of the Shudrak. Ram felt her internal organs resonate. Slowly but surely, the shackles came off. 1, 2, 3, 4. The scene changes. Garfield resumes fighting Obart. Garfield spins and punches Obart, shattering bones. However, it turns out it was simply a body Obart threw at Garfield. Obart touched Garfield's shoulder and backed off grinning. Garfield ponders, knowing that Obart always does something for a reason. Garfield looks at his shoulder and sees that Obart's handprint is red and sticky. It's seeping blood and smoke coming from it. Poison. Garfield then proceeds to bite off his shoulder and rips off the poisonous flesh before it can spread around. The gaping wound immediately healed. Obart then proceeds to kick Garfield in the nose, snapping it. Garfield rolls on the ground. If it wasn't for Garfield's tough body, his head would have been kicked off. Garfield then adjusts his broken nose as it bleeds. Obart mutters that if it's a pain to kill him, then it's a weapon in a physical sense, as he looks at Garfield's body. Garfield wonders how many more times will Obart attack him this way. Garfield continues to press forward, his fighting spirit not dimmed. Many generals would agree that Garfield is a warrior, however Obart does not hold the same values. Obart states that he can't leave Garfield alone, and notes that his station is faring worse than Garfield's apex, so he wants to leave or he will be in trouble if he doesn't get back to where he should be. Garfield is confused, and Obart says that just because he's old doesn't mean he cannot hear. Garfield focuses on what Obart says, and he hears the rumbling of shoes. There is an army to the west. However, with that, Obart said Garfield is brave for leaving an opening, throwing some explosives at Garfield's head, which then explode, engulfing Garfield. However, Garfield counted on this, charging at Obart amidst the explosion and aiming to attack. However, Obart called him naive and proceeded to jump on Garfield's head and jumped away. Obart doesn't intend to continue this battle. knowing that Kathmir's leftover forces could defend the Apex if Garfield was dead. Obart queries that even Garfield would die if his neck was cut off. Immediately, Garfield tensed his neck muscles as he jumped backwards. Garfield hears the words, "chest," as he listens to the voice and covers his chest. A blade from Obart's missing arm shattered and gently pierced Garfield's chest. If Garfield reacted slower, his heart would have been pierced. Garfield hated that he had to follow the voice of that person as he swears at him. Garfield dislikes Obart, but the person behind him was the person he hated the most. Garfield states that after they beat the old man, he is next. The man exclaims that he wouldn't want Ram to seem like this. Obart then says that he told them that if they all pass the line on the ground, they will die, but the man that just appeared said that he's from the sky, so he doesn't understand what that means. The man, Roswell L. Mathers, says he will be of help, stating that he has killed Shinobi before. The scene changes. Emilia foresaw her death, however she couldn't run, so she tried to protect herself, creating an ice slide to angle the blast away from her. However, the last time, Emilia had Priscilla to help. Now she was alone. Mesioria says disappear human, and the light engulfs the battlefield, shattering the ice wall Emilia made. However, there was a large explosion. Emilia's hair and clothes were almost torn to shreds. We see that Mesioria launched his attack at a different angle. However, it was because at the last moment, Madelyn's flying wing blade hit Mesioria's head, causing him to tilt his head in the opposite direction, launching the blast off angle. Even if the shot was off angle, the shockwave still ripped Emilia's clothes. Emilia guesses that maybe when she threw Madelyn's spinning blade away, it came spinning back like a boomerang. However, a voice laughs, saying that they have a good imagination, stating that they found the blade in the ground and kicked it. Emilia jumps and sees that a small boy is staring at her ice sword, and the boy states that the sword is beautiful. The boy says that he saw white and blue, and at the end of his choice, he found a dragon and a beautiful woman. The boy steps forward. Emilia tries to stop him, but she hesitates. She feels pressure from the cheerful boy. The boy exclaims, "The big stage has arrived. Everyone watch. Don't blink, or you'll regret it for the rest of your lives." Cecilus Segmund, the boy, not backing down even in the face of a dragon, the transcendent, declared with dignity and noise. And with that, the chapter ends. Okay, so we're getting near the end of it. So it looks like Roswell and Garfield versus Obart, Cecilus and Emilia versus Mesioria, and we have Ram and the Shadrakians versus Mogro, most likely. So interesting. This is definitely the end of the end. I'm looking to see how Rem and Goz comes into play now. But good chapter.